Welcome to another performance-elevating installment of English with Ms. B. Today, we're providing a detailed yet learner-friendly poem analysis that is, honestly, just incredibly immersive and engaging. Oh, and a quick reminder before we really get going, the slide deck we're using in this explainer, along with your notes and a revision quiz, are all linked right down in the description box for you. Okay, so today, we are exploring William Plomer's absolutely magnificent poem, Namaqualand After Rain.
Let's just dive right into this spectacular visual of Namaqualand. Now, if you aren't familiar with it, this is a semi-desert region in the northern Cape of South Africa. And for the vast majority of the year, it is completely dry, parched, totally unforgiving. But then, it miraculously transforms from this barren earth into a vibrant, almost unbelievable carpet of wildflowers right after the rain. It's literally like magic. But it's not just a pretty landscape, right? It's a profound display of resilience. And it's exactly this incredible phenomenon that serves as the beating heart of our poem today.
To really elevate your exam performance, here's our mental roadmap for today. We're dividing our analysis into 5 clear study buckets. We've got context of the poet and the place, anatomy of the quatrain, the imagery of desolation versus abundance, the poetry soundscape, and finally, the inevitability of renewal.
Let's kick things off with Section 1, Context, Poet and Place.
So, our poet is William Plomer. He was born in South Africa in 1903 in what's now Polokwane, and Plomer had this incredibly deep, intimate connection to the diverse landscapes of his home country. Throughout this explainer, we'll see exactly how he leverages that intimate knowledge of the Namaqualand region to frame a much broader, much more profound message about nature's latent vitality. I mean, he isn't just describing a bunch of flowers here. He's actually showing us how life is always waiting, just beneath the surface, for the absolute right conditions to emerge.
Moving right along to Section 2, Anatomy of the Quatrain. This is where we get into the structural meaning.
You know, poetry is a lot like architecture, and the way a poem is built always reveals its meaning. This structure brilliantly illustrates Plomer's absolute genius. The poem is built using 8 quatrains, so 4-line stanzas, with a highly consistent A-B-C-B rhyme scheme. Notice how words like rains and plains perfectly lock together in every single stanza. The poet is intentionally using this rigid structure to prove a point. He's saying that underneath all the wild, seemingly chaotic growth of nature, there actually lies a highly predictable, intelligent design.
Now here we have a fantastic contrast that you can definitely use in your essays. If you look at the poem on the page, the line lengths are quite flexible. They vary a lot. Some are short, some are long. And this visually simulates nature's spontaneous, unpredictable bursts of life. But layered right over that unpredictability is that rock-solid A-B-C-B rhyme scheme we literally just talked about. It acts as the dependable heartbeat of the changing seasons. It's essentially telling us that while the way life blooms might be wild, the fact that it will bloom is an absolute, unshakable guarantee.
Okay, Section 3, Imagery, specifically desolation versus abundance.
Notice how Plomer deliberately juxtaposes 2 totally different vocabularies here. It's so clever. At first, we see the severe, denuded diction of the winter drought, using harsh words like gaunt, bleached, and denudes. But the second the rain hits, the language shifts completely. We suddenly get this victorious, almost military-like energy. We see pink volleys shooting through a broken wall and the quickening plains. Life isn't just barely surviving here, right? It's aggressively triumphing over desolation.
You really want to pay close attention to this next line, small roots explode in strings of stars. Seriously, this is a classic 3-mark exam question just waiting to happen. Think about what the poet is doing here. He's using a powerful celestial metaphor to elevate tiny, fragile, dirt-covered plant growth into a massive, cosmic event of sheer vitality. Suddenly, the veld isn't just a field anymore, it's a literal galaxy. And that verb explode brings massive energy, showing us that this renewal isn't slow or timid at all. It's dynamic, and it is totally undeniable.
And the rich imagery just keeps building. The poet brings in the word raceme, which is actually a botanical term for a cluster of flowers arranged along a central stem. But look closely at what the poem says nature does to it. It jewels each raceme. The absolute crucial point here is how this beautifully personifies the landscape as self-ornamenting. Nature is acting like a master jeweler, transforming these plain stems into rich, radiant, dripping decorations. The barren desert has essentially draped itself in diamonds. It really proves nature is the original high-end fashion designer.
through these really beautiful, evocative images, like the underground bulb finally giving up its dream, and then that sudden mention of the sacred temple lotus all the way in another hemisphere, Plomer does something kind of incredible. He expands this hyperlocal regional bloom in South Africa into a massive global spiritual symbol. Because the temple lotus, that represents purity and rebirth. So by linking Namaqualand to the lotus, the poet is showing us that this hidden potential being fulfilled isn't just some geographical quirk of the Northern Cape. It's a sacred, universal law of life everywhere.
All right, let's jump into section 4, the poetry soundscape. Let's really hear this transformation.
This visual framework we're looking at perfectly tracks the auditory journey of the stanzas. Plomer creates these troughs of soft sound, which contrast the gentle, delicate rustling of new life with the peaks, and those peaks are the striking, echoing power of the sun and the caves. It's a landscape where extreme delicacy and immense endurance coexist right alongside each other, and the amazing part is we can actually hear it in the very syllables he chooses.
So the key takeaway here is how the poet manipulates sound devices to contrast these environments. On one hand, we have the soft, beautiful onomatopoeic frou-frou of delicate petals and the word unruffling. I mean, say it out loud. It literally sounds like a soft whisper of fabric. But then, almost out of nowhere, that softness is forcefully interrupted by the hard, aggressive consonants of rods of sunlight strike and the vibrating burr echoing in the ironstone caves. This entire soundscape proves that nature is both incredibly gentle and overwhelmingly powerful all at once. This brings us to our final part, Section 5, the inevitability of renewal.
You know what's truly fascinating about the narrative structure here? It's how it systematically narrows its gaze. We start way out with the vast universe, strings of stars, another hemisphere, global concepts of renewal. Then we zoom into the regional landscape with the quickening plains and the gaunt Karoo. And finally, we pull all the way down to the intricate, highly localized details of just a single willow tree hesitating to be green. Plomer proves that this miraculous renewal is happening absolutely everywhere, at all scales, all at once.
And look at where we end up. We zoom in completely on the tiny loxia bird industriously weaving its pendant wicker love nest. Do you notice how the tone softens right here? The poem doesn't end with some massive cosmic explosion, but rather with quiet, intimate, and continuous creation. The whole act of weaving is a symbol of sustained life and creativity. That explosive, dramatic start has settled into the beautiful, everyday routine of nature, just continuing its lineage.
Okay, let's think about this exam-style question for a second. To what extent does Plomer suggest that renewal is both natural and inevitable? When you're constructing your argument for this, I want you to think back to what we've covered in this explainer. How do the consistent, dependable ABCB rhyme scheme, the repeated use of the very first word again, and that abundant, bursting imagery all unite to prove a point? They all serve as hard evidence that life's triumph over barrenness isn't some random fluke. It's a completely unstoppable, built-in mechanism of the Earth itself.
As we wrap up our deep dive into the Veld today, I want you to remember the ultimate lesson of Namaqualand. Even the most desolate, denuded, and seemingly lifeless environments contain incredible, vibrant, latent vitality, just waiting for the exact right conditions, like the lyric rains, to finally flourish. That potential is literally always there. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Just like those resilient bulbs waiting beneath the dry African dirt, what hidden potential are you waiting to unleash today? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.